I finally did it. I finally read all of Demon Slayer. It was quite the adventure, and after taking some time to collect my thoughts, I'm finally ready to talk about it. Demon Slayer, if you're unaware, took the world of manga and anime by complete storm in recent times. The books have sold incredibly well, selling insane numbers, and that's pretty crazy considering there's only 23 volumes. The movie is Japan's most popular movie of all time, and the anime, which is currently airing, is also insanely popular. Why is that? I remember watching the first season of the anime and thinking, this is good. But why did this become so successful, of all things? Well, after reading the books and being caught up with the anime, I still can't really explain it. Its insane success sort of still eludes me. But today I'm not really here to talk about why it became the success it became, but to simply share my opinion with you all. And I will tell you right now, despite me thinking that it's a little overhyped, Demon Slayer is still a very positive experience. So with that said, let's get into it. Before we get started though, I'd like to welcome you to MangAnalysis, where I do little reviews of the manga I've been reading. If you like what you see and would like to see more, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. Maybe even leave a comment. Let's get a conversation going. So what is Demon Slayer all about? Well, the story follows Tanjiro, a young boy living with his family in the woods. Tanjiro and his family live a life of hard work, but a content life nonetheless. A happy family, if you will. That changes one night when a demon slaughters the entirety of Tanjiro's family, except for his sister Nezuko, who manages to survive. Yay! But she's also transformed into a demon. Tanjiro vows to turn his sister back into a human and give her the life she deserves. He then enlists to become a demon slayer, a group of samurai who make it their life's mission to take down demons, with the ultimate goal of killing Muzan Kibutsuji, the daddy of all demons. His death would mean the death of all demons, and finally then maybe peace would reign on the land. But can Tanjiro and friends put an end to Muzan's carnage, or will demons reign supreme forever and ever? Okay, before getting into this, I just want to mention that there will be major spoilers in this video. I will be going through most of the story, including the ending, so be aware of that, I guess. The first thing that I want to talk about today are the characters. I really enjoyed the cast. Like many popular shonen series, Demon Slayer is filled with familiar trope characters, yet they all feel fresh and unique, while remaining familiar and relatable. You have of course Tanjiro, the sweetest boy who will do anything for his friends and family, and his belief in his own abilities will see him win many battles that we all thought were lost. A lot. You'll see that a lot. More on that later. But seriously, I love a guy who's not afraid to cry and express his emotions, and Tanjiro is one of the many main characters of this new generation of manga that's able to be insanely strong and resilient while staying in touch with his emotions. I believe young boys these days need that kind of role model, and I'm all for it. Let's not forget the other characters, like Wild Boar Boy Inosuke, who will propel himself into danger without a second thought a la Naruto, and while he may not seem very intelligent, his instincts will carry his muscles into certain victory and his dialogue into funny territory. There's also Zenitsu, the cowardly quick lad who will take any opportunity to yell really loudly about his fears and problems, and while it does get a little tiresome, his development is second to none. And let's not forget about Nezuko, Tanjiro's nebulously half-something demon. She doesn't say much, but she's great and she's cute and I like her very much. I just briefly mentioned 4 characters and there are so many more. There are tons more Demon Slayers and each of them have their own backstory and motivations for being what they are. Let's not forget about the demons though. Demon Slayer has many antagonists and for the most part they all have a pretty big impact on our main characters via their own backstories and obstacles they present. The chemistry between hero and foe of this series is very powerful. Each battle presents more opportunities for the reader to get to know the main cast of characters as well as the demons and their boss, Muzan. Now, if there's one thing that, in my opinion, hurts these characters, it's the pacing of the story. And that's my segue into the next thing I want to talk about today. The thing that I think I dislike the most in Demon Slayer, the pacing. This series has a lot of pacing issues in my opinion. Overall, there seemed to be this everlasting feeling of things being rushed a little, and the repetitive nature of the fights made that pacing even more glaring. Like I mentioned earlier, Demon Slayer has an incredible cast, but a lot of the affection the reader has for them is given via generic, repetitive, oftentimes rushed backstory right before they die. Oftentimes it doesn't really give you the time to really get attached to a character via time spent with them. Instead, you see them a bit, you get to know them a little more, they have a cool fight, they say something emotional, you see their sad backstory, and then they die. Their backstory gives off the illusion of attachment when really it's very ephemeral and doesn't last too long past this section of the story. I have a few examples. First one is Kyojiro's death. I found it extremely lackluster and frankly quite ineffective. We had just met this character and somehow the reader was supposed to be torn apart by his death. There was no time spent developing this character or any time spent between the reader, Kyojiro, and the rest of the cast. The entire emotional moment was spent via a quick backstory, a big speech about never giving up, a cool battle, and then he dies. And everyone's like, oh no, Kyojiro, my mentor, my best friend, you literally meant everything to me. And it's like, what? You just met this guy. I think Kyojiro's death would have been so much more impactful if we had been given the time to fully explore this character. The same thing happens with Genya and his brother Sanemi. You have these two brothers, they both have anger issues, they seem to hate one another, but you know there's something more going on there, so there's this mystery. So far so good. And then bam, you have a tiny flashback of why Sanemi acts hostile towards Genya, which is honestly not the most convincing thing, and then Genya dies and it's like, no, our immaculate brotherly bond is shattered. The healing fixing of their relationship was done so fast that there was absolutely no time to appreciate it. Not only that, so little time was spent developing either character that the actual fixing of their relationship wasn't really that impactful. And then when Genya died, it just felt like another corpse added to the pile, which is a shame because they both had tons of potential for growth and further development. Genya dying isn't the issue though, it's how fast and rushed the whole thing felt. Before going into the next section of the pacing, I just want to quickly talk about the repetitive nature of the battle sequences. It's no secret that most popular shonen series deal with the same repetitive nature, they all have a formula, and you know what, it's great. Character is weak, he fights, gets stronger, beats up stronger foes, gets stronger, and so on and so forth. He believes in himself. Ooh, friendship. While Demon Slayer always finds a cool way of introducing new enemies and techniques, and honestly keeps the power creeping to a pleasant minimum, the fights that feature Tanjiro are all the same. Tanjiro starts fighting, he has to go beyond his limits, he feels his body falling apart, he remembers to breathe, he does a cool technique that damages the enemy a lot, then suffers a super hit, falls unconscious, remembers his family, believes in himself, wakes up, which always surprises the enemy, and then he either gets help from another Demon Slayer or manages to land the hit himself. It's always the same. And while that repetition isn't necessarily a problem since that formula has been there for decades, add to that the pacing issues and the rush nature of it all really does take a toll eventually. It's a shame because the fights themselves are always fun and still manage to stay interesting, despite Tanjiro's predictable bursts of strength. Now, the strangest part of the pacing for me is the ending, or rather, the final arc. The final battle. The series is 23 books, and the final arc, the final fight, starts at book 17. A full third of the series is entirely dedicated to the final boss fight. Sure, there are mini-bosses on the way to Muzan, but it's in the final castle. It has that ominous final fight atmosphere, and it's long. While the ever-present rushing feeling is still there within smaller sequences, the entire thing does feel like it drags a bit. After every fight, I was expecting the team to escape and regroup and have another training montage, or a moment of respite before the real final fight, some bonding or something, but nope, it's just kept going until it was over, and it was weird. The entirety of the series was filled with events that felt rushed and others that felt like they lasted too long. It was frustrating to meet a character hoping for some sick development only to be given a quick flashback, a side speech about resilience, and then death. I often say that I prefer short series or series that don't drag too long, but I honestly feel like Demon Slayer could have benefited from being longer. Perhaps not have it extended from the end, but with some additional moments in the middle. Now, there's one thing in the series that does not suffer from strange pacing, and that's the ending. The very ending. Oh my god, I think it was a perfect ending. I recently finished The Promised Neverland, and it sort of tried to have that perfect ending by wrapping up everything with a pretty bow, but it tried too hard and it felt rushed and awkward. Demon Slayer wraps up everything perfectly, never feels like it's trying too hard, and gives every character its moment to shine and breathe a bit. You get to see what everyone is up to, you get to see what the world has become without the demons, and that's really cool. For the ending alone, honestly, I would recommend reading Demon Slayer. Seldom have I read a popular shonen series that manages to have such a great ending. While I did talk about spoilers through this entire video, I do want to avoid talking about the actual final ending and what happens. It's just that good and wholesome. You're just going to have to take my word for it. So, should you check out Demon Slayer? Yeah, I really think you should. Is it the absolutely perfect beast it was made out to be by the media? Not necessarily for me personally, but it remains a very strong series with tons of great aspects to it. Great characters, a fun, simple story, a perfect ending. You can't really ask for more than that. I did go pretty hard into some pacing issues I had with it, but honestly, that's pretty much it. Everything else it does is for the most part really well done. I didn't even talk about the art. The art is stellar, and while some fight scenes are a little difficult to follow, the choreography of it all is whack. I would also fully recommend the anime. Honestly, while the manga is awesome, I find myself enjoying the anime a little more. It's very faithful to the books, has excellent animation, and has a superb soundtrack. Well, that was my review of Demon Slayer. I hope you liked it. It's been a bit since my last video, so sorry about that. Things have been pretty busy for me. Typically every 10 videos I take a little break, but circumstances made this break a lot longer than usual. I've entered a webtoon competition, and that's been taking most of my time. Until that's fully done, I might be releasing videos a little more sporadically. Apologies for that in advance. Thank you so much to everyone who takes the time to watch my videos. I really appreciate it. This was MangAnalysis, and I'll see you in the next one.